Hey there. Hello, everybody. It's great to be with you again, wherever or however you're watching this. I'm Martin Cross. This is Cross's Corner, and I'm absolutely thrilled to have Barnabé Delarze, who many of you will know from the Swiss team over the years, been fantastic in that team. Now, of course, hoping to get a place in the Oxford Crew to Row next year's boat race. Hi, Barnabé.
Hi Martin, thanks for having me. I'm delighted it's probably the first time you get my name right, even though you've been commenting my races for a few years. uh, but I know it's not the easiest one to get in English. Yeah, we got there. I'm really happy to be here. Thanks for inviting me.
That's perfect. So before we get started, let's just have a little word about our great sponsors, Ludum. They are organising the 6th Rowers Conference on January the 23rd, 2022. It's sponsored by Ludum. It gets fantastic guest speakers, people like Jurgen Grobler, Mike Spracklin, Paul Thompson, Bobby Thatcher, Catherine Granger. There's just the names are endless. And it was virtual last year. You may remember the interview that I did with Jurgen Grobler, but this year it's back at Dawley Lake. And you can get early tickets at rowersconference.com. If you log on, the things will come below the screen, I think, during the interview. But some of the confirmed speakers include Mendy Cordy, PhD, coach and scientist at the Royal Dutch Cycling Federation. Also a Henley winning oarsman with Molesey Boat Club. Get a little plug in there. And Grace Prendergast, of course, fellow Olympian along with you, Barnabé. And won a gold medal and a silver medal in the New Zealand pair and 8. And Dr. Kath Bishop, who wrote that amazing book, What Does It Mean to Actually Win Olympic rower, former diplomat. If you can't make it, it'll be online. So just head to rowersconference.com and you can see all the details there. Okay, Barnabé, how's your day been?
Pretty standard day. Some training, some studying. I think the term here in Oxford is I think it just ended, but I'm on the MBA, so it's a slightly different program, and we still have that was our last day of class, even though I couldn't make it because of training. But and now we have some assessments for next week to give in. So pretty busy times, but it's pretty exciting.
Yeah. So when did you decide that you were going to sort of come to Oxford? How early did you decide that this was going to be your year?
Well, I really decided when when I got the offer, which was in May of last year, because you're never sure if you're actually going to get in. It's pretty tough to get in, obviously. But I mean, obviously, I've been watching the boat race and hearing about Oxford and Cambridge for most of my rowing career, so since I was 14 or so, and It always been like a dream of mine to do that. But I never really gave it a go because I don't know, I didn't really think about actually studying abroad, and I thought I wouldn't get in anyways because I was never really focusing on the studying because in Switzerland I've always been studying part-time next to the rowing. So and it's slightly different in Switzerland where you don't really need to have top grades to get into any, like you just have to pass. And so that was my goal, was to pass. And then at some point I thought, I mean, that would be cool to do it if I can get in. But I'm not sure I got the grades. And then actually I started applying in December of 2020. Yeah.
Oh, right.
So it took quite a long time. It's quite a long process to apply, and the MBA, hopefully they give you a second chance if you don't have like amazing undergrad results, which is a GMAT, so it's like a standardized test for business schools. And I guess I did pretty well in that, and that helped me as well as obviously my application letter and my interview and whatever. So the first time I actually thought about it seriously was in the winter or in the fall of 2020, and then applied and got the offer in May. I also finished. I just finished my degree in August this year because I was studying part time. So I'm probably the only MBA who just finished his undergrad like the same year. But so that's also why I couldn't even think of coming before finishing that. And yeah, with the postponement of the Olympics, it ended up being this year. Yeah.
Yeah. So how exciting is it to be at Oxford and a part of Oxford University Boat Club?
I mean, it's completely different to what I was doing in the past 8+ years in Switzerland. Obviously, being rowing full time ish with some studying on the side. It's mostly the training center of life. So you sleep, eat, row, repeat. Did a little bit of studying on the side, but yeah, it's not. You don't have any student life experience, and it's the training center is also in a really small village in Switzerland, so there's not much going on. In Zarnen, for those who know, it's like 20 minutes away from Lucerne. So coming in here is a complete change of environment, which I was looking. So that's really good. I'm really happy with that. Really exciting. I meet so many new and different people. You get events almost every. I mean, you can go to events every day if you want to. You have so many different backgrounds around you, so it's really exciting. And so that's for the whole student life, I guess. And then being part of the University Boat Club is also again kind of a dream come true. Again, watching the boat race on TV for the past 10 years or so, always dreaming of doing it, and always thinking, oh, it would be awesome to do it, but that's not for me, that's for someone else. So I haven't done a boat race yet, but I'm training in the club with all the history around it, and this year is also particularly exciting because we have a lot of good guys coming from different, like we have 5 Olympians, 5 guys who were at the Olympics in Tokyo, all in the finals.
That's sensational.
One of them is my teammate, so I know him pretty well. But the other 3, obviously all new guys I met, and then other than that, we have like a lot of other really good British rowers or under 23s world champions. So it's a great melting pot. We can exchange, we can learn from each other, and hopefully that's going to make us pretty fast come the boat race.
It's going to be a really tough boat to get into, that blue boat with all that talent. So you mentioned your friend Roman Roigli. Did you two decide to join together, or did you do it separately and then work out, hey, we're both going?
No, we didn't. We didn't decide together. Actually, he applied for last year, but again, and he got in last year on a different course. He's studying water science management, and so it's he got his place for his offer for last year, but he was able to defer because of the postponement of the Olympics.
Yeah.
So if everything had gone to plan, he would have come last year, and I would have come this year anyway. So we wouldn't have come the same year. And then the timing just worked out that way that we end up here at the same time.
So I'm interested because you're normally you've been sculling for almost all your career in terms of international races. So are you guys on different sides? Are you competing on the same side? How's it gone in the sweep with you and Roman?
No, we actually are on the same side.
Oh no, really?
Yeah. And actually, it's pretty funny because we also have Angus Groom, who won a medal in the men's quad in Tokyo for Great Britain, and he's also been sculling all his life. And the 3 of us are on stroke side, so it's pretty funny to have all the scullers on the same side.
Is there a reason why you're on stroke side? How did it turn out like that?
Well, I mean, I haven't done much sweeping, but I've done like the small amount I've done was always on stroke side. So when I was like J16 or so, I did some sweep rowing. I did Coupe de la Jeunesse back in 2010 in the pair. I came last in that, but that was on stroke side. So I learned to sweep, or like I started any sweep rowing I've done was on stroke side. Even like the odds fun race like Red Bull X Row or Heineken Cup or those kind of stuff, I've always been on stroke side. So I probably could have swapped side if Sean, our coach, would have wanted me to, because I wasn't really used to one side, but that was just the side I've done all my little sweeping on. So
yeah, got people watching, so someone's a big fan of yours. It seems.
Yeah. You can expect quite a lot of chat from the guys from the squad. I guess some of them are tuning in. So.
So it seems to me that getting in on stroke side in the blue boat is going to be really tough, because if you say, there are the 3 Olympic scullers on stroke side, there's just 1 seat left on stroke side.
When that's filled by at the moment that's filled by Liam Corrigan, who was stroking the US 8 in Tokyo, who came fourth.
Oh, so, Liam Corrigan is also there. Yeah. He's like never lost a seat race or something like that.
Yeah, that's the right? Chat. I would have to confirm with him. I'm not sure if that's true, but he's definitely very good, and he did beat me on the seat race a few weeks ago. So he definitely didn't lose to me. Yeah, I mean, it's going to be tough to get in on stroke side, but bow side is really strong as well. I mean, we got Charlie House, who was in the GB8 in Tokyo, and we've got a few guys who have been under 23 world champions and some international experience. So it's really a packed 8 both sides. Yeah.
So we got Liam Corrigan, you, Roman Roegeli, Angus Groom, and Charlie Elwes. I mean, that's a sensational lineup. You'd almost want to race that 8 at World Championships and see how fast it went.
Yeah, with the other guys as well. I mean, the other guys are. I mean, obviously for us, the scholars, is we still have to learn a bit more about sweep rowing, and I wouldn't say we're by any means far ahead of the other guys. If anything, maybe some other younger guys are actually better than us at the moment. So it's going to be a really fast 8, hopefully, and the main challenge is obviously going to be for us to come together with all our different rowing styles and merge that into 1/8. But once we got that down, it should, on paper, it should definitely be close to a international level 8 in the A final, I guess.
Yeah. So let's talk about what you're learning, that the sort of style. What kind of style is Sean getting you to row, and how is Sean Bowden, your coach? How is he bringing you guys together technically?
I think for me, and probably for Roman as well, because we come from the same system, the main difference has been where we put the emphasis in the stroke, in the drive. I would say back in Switzerland we used to focus a bit more on the first part of the stroke, so maybe a bit more front loaded. We have some different influences, like Ian Wright used to coach us, and then Edouard Blanc took over from him, but he's also got a similar idea. So it was pretty much a lot of focus on getting the power peak early in the stroke.
Yeah.
And I guess Sean wants us to shift that a bit more towards the back end, so it's a bit more backloaded, if that makes sense. A bit, maybe it's like a similar difference you see between the British team and maybe the Kiwis or the Australians at the international level, which with the GB team a bit more backloaded and the other guys a bit more front loaded. Yeah. So it's just a matter of just slight adjustments. But in the end, I think all the guys in the boat have a similar idea of being dynamic, getting quick connection at the front, and then really holding on to it all the way to the back end. And that's my main focus at the moment, to try holding it a bit better to the back. So that's my main struggle at the moment. But
yeah. Can I ask what it feels like when you're out in a boat with those guys? Because I know you must have been out in 4s. I guess you're in trilates or heading towards trilates soon at the moment. But I guess you must have been out in an 8 with a lot of those guys. What does it feel like for a sculler to be in a boat like that?
I mean, in the end, rowing is rowing, right? You know how a fast moving boat feels like. Yes, we have spent the last 5 years in a double, so it's a bit of a slower boat. But before that, I was me and Roman were in the quad,
yeah,
which is similar in speed, I guess. And so, yeah, the feeling is mostly the same, and then it's just a matter of really applying our strokes efficiently in sweep rowing rather than sculling. So that does require a bit of adaptation time. But then when it like those outings which come together quite well, those combination which are fast, it does feel like a fast boat, and then it's fun being in an eight, going very fast, and yeah, like eight strong guys together. But we haven't been much, like we have been mixing a lot, so we haven't spent much time in the same combination yet. So we're yet to see how a really dialed down crew looks like.
Yeah. And of course, you haven't come up against them because I know you didn't get your entries in for the Four's Head, but the Cambridge squad also look very strong.
Yeah, they are. They are. I mean, obviously they've got Tom George and Ollie Wynne Griffith from the GB8s. And then they also have two returning Olympians from two lightweights from 2016. One of them is Simon Church, which
Yeah.
we used to train with him. But I know he hasn't done much training since since Rio. He's been focusing on his job, and now he decided to do an MBA at Cambridge as well, and he's getting back into rowing. So I don't know how good of a shape he's in, but he definitely knows how to move a boat. And so we might be slightly favorite on paper, but I'm sure they will have a very, very fast crew as well, because they also have a lot of good guys coming in this year.
It's going to be a fantastic boat race, isn't it? You mentioned just briefly some of your coaches or your coaching influences. You talked about Ian Wright, Edouard Blanc. I think maybe even Tim Foster. Did he ever coach you at all in the dim distant past?
Yeah, when we were juniors, but we
Yeah,
haven't spent a lot of time with him. Like he
no,
was the junior head coach, and we did get a few weeks or months with him, but it wasn't
yeah.
like a big influence, I guess.
Okay, so run through the qualities of those three coaches, if you would. So, of Ian Wright, what's he like as a person, and how does he coach? Edward Blanc, the same, and then Sean Bowden. So, give us a flavour of what these guys are like.
Well, if I run down my coaches, I have to start with my club coach, who
Okay,
he has had a huge influence on my rowing and on my career. I guess it's called Arnaud Berch. He's just at the club level, but he's a great coach. I've learned so much from him, and especially yeah, how to work hard, how to train hard. Very, very good like mentality, and
yeah,
I've learned a lot from him, which I was able to carry along all the way to senior levels. So that was my first influence, and then before, yeah, I guess we started in the Swiss team with Edouard Blanc, because he was under 23 coach when I started in the Swiss team. So
yeah.
he used to coach our quad, our under 23 quad, but we ended up doing seniors as well. Like so, we in 2013 was my first senior year, and I did both under 23s and seniors.
And you were world champion in that quad, weren't you? In the
Under
under
23s,
23s,
yeah,
double
and
world
then
champion, in fact.
yeah, 13 and 14, and we also went on to race seniors both those years. And that was always with Edouard, who was coaching us. So he was like our project coach. He wasn't head coach. He wasn't doing the program, but he was coaching us directly. And so I think he's definitely, because I've been working with him for so long, he's been my main influence, as in rowing style or rowing technique. And I think he's one of the best coaches on the water. I know he really he stays on top of it. He would keep just correcting you until you get it right. And then Ian Wright, obviously he's a very tough guy, very tough training plan. It didn't work out very well with us in the quad because I think he's more. He's never really coached sculling, so he tried with us in the quad and it didn't work out very well. So we went back to Edouard, and but definitely his training plan made us a lot fitter and a lot stronger, and also probably a lot tougher as well. So that was Ian's main influence. Obviously, he has had great success coaching 4s and 8s. And now he's actually coming back to Switzerland, so we'll see. Maybe we might try something out with him in the sweep boat. And then now training with Sean. As I said, I mentioned the different technique he has in mind. I can't really speak much about him because it's only been like 2 months I'm here, so have yet to see exactly what things. A lot of people say he's a great coach and have a really have a lot of respect for him, and I definitely think the whole team has quite a lot of respect for him because he's been here for 20 or 25 years, so he definitely knows an awful lot about the boat race. And I'd say it's different coaching for the boat race than coaching for a 2K race on a racing course, because there's a lot more tactics. It's a 16-minute race or 18 minutes race rather than a 5 minutes race, 6-minute race. So it's every different coaching for something like that than coaching in a full-time program. And also he has to coach students. Even though we have a lot of rowing experience, we are all studying 100% and doing pretty tough degrees. So it's very different. And it's interesting being here.
Yeah, you mentioned Ian Wright. I know that when he left Australia, there were different opinions about him from his athletes, and one that the approach was almost too tough. Bearing in mind, you said he's a tough coach. What's your view on him coming back into the Swiss setup?
Well, there's good points and bad points. Obviously, I said when he was coaching us, we all got a lot stronger, a lot fitter, but we also had a lot of injuries. But again, we were 5 or 6 years younger than now. So now that it's coming back, I think. So he left in 2016, so that's 6 years ago now, and I think obviously he is evolved as a coach. We have evolved as we know ourselves, and I think I'm sure he's still really tough, but probably he's or we'll see. But he might be willing to listen a bit more to the athletes and how they feel, and not get injured as much. But that's mostly. No one's going to be. You're never going to get the whole team happy about a coach. Like there's always going to be guys complaining. Myself, I'm the first one to complain. I know, and even with Edwards, which we had a really good relationship, but still points I wasn't agreeing with him on. So it's always a trade-off. But at the end of the day, I think if you want success in rowing, you have to have a coach who pushes you a bit further than you want to go.
Absolutely.
On your own. So that's good, definitely, and hopefully he's going to be listening to us a bit more and be a little bit more careful without being too careful, because we have to push it, obviously.
That's really interesting. I just wondered, you mentioned all those guys in the Oxford boat, and I guess some of the other non-internationals too. It's quite interesting how leadership works in terms of a crew. You've obviously got the coach, but often there's a focus for crew leadership in the boat or in the squad. Out of the guys that you've seen so far, who is the leader for the team? Who's got those leadership qualities that the others might look to?
I think it's an interesting year because again, there's so much experience in that boat. There's not a standout leader. Like there's not like, if there was only one Olympian, let's say, or one gold medalist, we would all obviously listen to him, and it would be pretty natural and pretty clear as who's the leader. But I think this year it's a good mix, and everyone's leading on certain aspects of the rowing, of the culture next to the rowing. And so I wouldn't say there's a standout leader at the moment. It's everyone has his role, and everyone can bring something to the crew.
Okay, there's a few questions coming, Barnabé, which I'm just going to just briefly flick on. So guys that are listening, it's nice to have you with us and watching. Just a few questions. SB, how's your trial 8 coming together?
We don't know yet. We have yet to select the crews. We had a pretty fast 8 in London last weekend, but we've made some swaps today, and we're gonna do some testing this weekend as well.
Okay,
so it's not set and done yet, so we'll see.
This one here, Greg's B. I guess
that's all the squad. That's all the guys from the squad.
Yeah, I know. They're really kind. They're asking you nice questions, aren't they? Do you have a favourite post-workout snack then?
Yeah, of course, a nice sausage roll from Greg's is always a go-to after a session.
Paulina asks about Oxford having lost. I don't know whether that's something you can have an opinion on.
Yeah, that's how I want to call. I don't know, like just how it happens, but we're gonna make sure that doesn't happen this year. That's what I can say that much.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, in terms of, have you had much input from guys that have rowed the boat race before? I know when I talked to Ollie Wynne-Griffith at Cambridge, they'd had quite a significant input from former Blues who came to speak to the squad. Is that something that happens at Oxford?
We did have early season. We had a meet-up with a bunch of old Blues, which was quite fun. It's mainly like insights on the culture and how is it to race the boat race. It's not like any particular technique or training methods or whatever. It's just like how it is to race the boat race compared to a 6-lane race on 2K. And I think that's been pretty good to have those guys. They're all really excited for us to go out and race hard this year. And they've had some very interesting insights.
Brilliant. Another question here. You know, you've rowed since you were a junior. You've been rowing. How many years is it you've been rowing now, Barnabé?
I started when I was 13 or 14, so that's like half of my life. Yeah, about 13 years.
So most rowers come up against problems with their back at some stage. So what's your best advice for preventing back injuries?
Oh yeah, so that's an interesting one, because I had a pretty bad back injury just before Rio. So I actually at Christmas before Rio. And I was out of the boat between Christmas and April of 2016.
Wow.
And that was a herniated disc. And so I've tried like everything with I'd say traditional medicine over those 4 months, and nothing really worked. I would get cortisone injections in my back, and then do a lot of physio, a lot of core training, spend all my time on the bike just waiting for the pain to go away, which it would go away after like 3 or 4 weeks, and I would go back in the boat and it would hurt again, and I would start the whole process again. So it didn't really work. And then I was very lucky to find a guy in Switzerland actually who's been treating a lot of people for all kinds of injuries, but obviously back injuries are really common even for the general population, because we spend so much time sitting down on a chair at our desk. And so he's brought a very different approach and a very different view to all things back related. And so, for example, when I first came in, I told him my story, and he was shaking his head at any sentence I was saying. And basically I was saying, wow. And so basically he told me, don't cycle again, don't go on the bike anymore.
Really?
It's really bad for you. Stop doing core, and go for a run, like go running as often as you can, because, and then that's paired with some manual therapy, and also a lot of painful exercises. 2 weeks 2 weeks after I saw him for the first time, I was back in the boat, and I never had massive issues again. Like, obviously I have to take care of it, and I've had a few setbacks, but never as serious as it was back then. And so basically his whole approach is make sure between the posterior and anterior chain of the body, and when you sit down too much, your anterior chain is very short and very tight. A bit. Is it all right?
Yeah.
Sorry. And so when you go doing a lot of cycling doesn't help that. In fact, it accentuates the problem even more. And that's why, for example, running is very good for you, because it opens up your whole chain again, and it makes you stand up, basically. And so okay. I've been, in terms of advice, I would say try to move in different ways as often as you can. Try to walk and to run as much as you can. Obviously, for big guys, 100 kilos or whatever, you can't go for 90 minutes run every other day. But like, I try to run once a week for like 60 to 80 minutes, whatever. And that's been a big part of making sure I don't have any back problems anymore. And then you've got all kinds of exercises to open up, like the anterior chain, and train the posterior chain at the same time. So just you have to research a bit into what exercise makes sense. But I would say that stretching, like passive stretching, is not going to do the trick, because you actually have to make change happen in your body. So just passively stretching or getting massage or stuff, it's nice to have, it's nice to do, but it's not going to be the solution to the problem. You have to actively do exercises and compensate for all the time you spend sitting down in a boat and sitting down on your desk or whatever.
Yeah, well, that's really interesting. And what's the name of this guy who did so much for you?
He's called Rolf Fischer. He's pretty secretive. He's hiding in the Swiss Alps. But he's got patients from all over the world, even though he's never done a single advertising. So it's pretty crazy. Like, he's fully booked. He's very successful, and it's pretty expensive as well. So
wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's fantastic. So your body's obviously standing up to the tough training program at Oxford. What are the sessions you find toughest with OUBC?
I think it's quite interesting because in the Swiss team, I'd say the overall intensity was higher, and we obviously did more mileage and more volume because we were training full time. But here, most of the sessions are pretty steady state and pretty easy, I would say.
Really?
Well, I mean, we've got zones we have to stick to, and it's not like 80% of our sessions within our comfort zones, as in Switzerland, might have been maybe 50 or 60% only. But then when we come to racing or to doing pieces, or it's a lot more pressure, because we always do some kind of seed racing. The coach is always watching you. We've got a lot of telemetry in the boat. Sean likes the telemetry a lot, so you're always being watched. And so maybe once a week or once every other week, we have a set of seat racing or something similar, and those are really like redlining, and those are, I mean, more intense than what we would do in Switzerland, I'd say. And there's more pressure as well, because you have to perform on a weekly basis or twice a month. So there's maybe a bit more contrast here between the tough sessions and the other sessions. And so definitely, like, a big set of seat racing is something which takes quite a lot out of you.
Yeah. Oh, that's really interesting. And I just wonder, are your ergometer sessions something that you would do at a set pace, or are they competitive? Do you have any competitive ergometer sessions?
No, unfortunately, we don't. I was expecting a bit more of that, but all the work on the erg is pretty controlled, and we have to stick to our zones most of the times, like an hour to 80 minutes of steady states is mainly what we do on the erg. So we do have erg tests. Obviously, we've done a 60-minute test. We've done
60-minute. What, a
yeah,
rate 20 or something?
No, open rates, just as hard as you
Open
can.
rate. What did you rate for? What did you go over at?
I think I averaged like 29 or something like that.
Whoa, for an hour.
Yeah. That was actually quite a fun one, in a way.
Really?
Because we like, most people are not really used to that, and it's a pretty big event at OUBC.
I guess you get close to 18K.
Oh yeah, a lot. I got like 18.4 or something like that, 18.6. I can't remember, but it's quite a fun one. Like, you get into the zone, you got a good playlist, you got a good bunch of guys doing it with you. So obviously we got erg tests like an hour, 5K, 2Ks, and those will be your competitive sessions. But most of the training session, they're pretty steady state.
Yeah. I have to ask you, Barnabé, what's your 2K PB on the ergo that for your career?
It's 540 flat. 540.0.
You're joking.
So,
540.0. That's sensational. Yeah, tell me about that.
But I get laughed at a lot because of that, because I couldn't get sub 540, just couldn't. So hopefully that's going to come at some point. But that's why
tell me about that test. Did you think you get sub 540 when you were doing that test? Was it a big disappointment, or how did you feel as you were cranking up for the last 500?
I mean, it was my goal, but it was a pretty ambitious goal, because my PB before that was 542-ish, and before the 542 it was 543 or 4, and I did the 542 just a few months before the 540. So I knew, like, I wanted to go for the sub 540, but I mean, I didn't know if I could get it. I mean, we were doing all those pretty very hard session on the erg in the Swiss team. Like, once a week we had like set splits we had to hold for intervals, and that was individually designed for us to, like, really push us to the limit. And so from those sessions below 540, so I knew it was possible on a very good day. But then coming in, I actually felt pretty shit. And then I remember just warming up, not feeling great, and then at some point I went on my testing area, and I was like, all right, just whatever, I'm just going to hold my split for as long as I can, and if I blow, I blow, and otherwise I'm going to make it. So I just hold on for 125, 126 the whole way. And then I just went for the sprint, and I could see the project finish, like, switching between 39 and 40 the whole time, and I was just pulling as hard as I could, moving more, and I was very close to blowing, and yeah, in the end, I just missed it by a tenth of a second. So, I mean, it was still a big PB, so I was happy, but it's a bit frustrating just not to get underneath the barrier. But in the end, it's still a fast time, so I'm pretty pleased with that.
Another question here from Jazzy Vicky 77. Hi there, Vicky. So with all your years of experience, what are the technical skills that you find yourself needing to work on?
Oh, there's always plenty to work on as a rower. Yeah. I think no rower will say they have a perfect technique, even Olympic champions. And now obviously it's even more true doing the switch from sculling to sweeping. So it's back to the drawing board for me. But in sculling, it was always getting better grip at the catch, getting more connection through the finish, being loose, especially being relaxed and loose. And I think in sweep rowing is all just the same, but it's even harder for me because I don't feel 100% comfortable yet. So in sculling, I mean, if I put my mind to it, I could decide, or at least really try for change. And in sweeping, sometimes it's a little bit out of my control because I don't have 100% confidence, or I'm not 100% in control yet, but it's coming better. But yeah, there's definitely a lot of stuff to work on all the time. And often you find that while you're working on one end of the stroke, the other end is lagging a bit behind. So you always have to go back and forth. It's a never-ending process, really.
Yeah. I kind of want to talk to you a bit about the Olympics now, and your double scull. You came 5th in the final, which was an improvement on Rio, where I know you were disappointed not to make the A final. Where does that Olympic experience sit now for you with a bit of perspective?
Oh, I mean, it's still very disappointing. So basically, after Rio, obviously we were disappointed not to make the A final, but on the other hand, we were very young. We were the youngest crew by far in the field. Half of the crew was still under 23s. I was 22 years old. And I knew and also we had all this, I was injured for 4 months, and we had some other guys in the boat who had been injured for a long time in that season. So, I mean, it was disappointing, but also, I mean, we knew we had a lot of things to improve on, and we had a lot of room to get better. So after Rio, I set myself to train really hard and be in the best position I could be come the next Olympics, so in Tokyo, and I did that. And then during the cycle, we didn't row the quad anymore because that's just how life went, and people in the squad just changing whatever, or just taking breaks and whatever, and we end up Roman and I being the top 2 scholars. So we did a double, but I think we medaled more often than we didn't during the cycle, or at least we were one. I think there was just us and the British double who were the only 2 boats who were in every A final during the whole Olympics. In the men's double. Well, after 2017, we didn't have a good world championship in 2017, but from 2017 we were always in the final every single race. And I think that was only just us in the British. And then we also medaled. We also medaled more often than not. So coming into Olympics, I knew, compared to Rio, I knew physically I was one of the best, if not the best, in the field. I knew my teammate was very fit as well, and I knew that technically we were also up there. Maybe not quite as good as the French, because they were a standout crew, obviously. But I mean, talking with people in and outside the squad, they would all rank us top 3 technically as well. So we knew it was, I mean, the obvious goal was to medal. And then the very frustrating part is that on the day in the final, we just completely screwed it up, and we just had a really bad race. So coming 5th is something, but also coming 5th with such a big margin on the leading crews was heartbreaking, because we didn't even have a race, and we can't say okay, we did our best and the other was just better. Obviously they were better, but we would have like to have a proper race and fight for the medals, and we were never in that position at any point in the race. And I mean, you got to keep in mind all those crews who beat us in the Olympic final. We also beat at some point during the Olympics, during the cycle. Sorry.
Yeah.
So there was no crew we've never beaten before. We beat the French a few times. We beat the Chinese a few times. We beat the Dutch a few times. We beat the British a lot of times. So yeah, it was just, there was no reason for them to be. I think we ended up 9 seconds behind the French. So that was very, and yeah, so it was a weird one. I still can't really put my finger of one thing which made that happen. It was just a combination of not getting it right on the day, maybe not being confident enough, or just not being dialed in as much as the other crews. And then once the pressure is so high and you have to do a race, like an Olympic final is a special race, so you can't race it as in the same way you race a World Cup final. A World Cup final, you know, you've got 3 of those every year. So you're like, oh yeah, I'm just going to row hard and we'll see what happens. And usually that worked out pretty well for us. But then the Olympic final, it was a lot of pressure, and you know, you only get one of those every 4 years or even 5 years if COVID comes in.
Yeah.
And you have to step it up, and you know that you have to step it up, and every cruise is going to step it up. And then I think when we had to step it up, me and Roman, we just drifted apart instead of coming together. And I think that's what the French did very, very well, is just coming together at the right time and just being 100% together and just going that extra mile, extra percent or 2. And then you get left out on the track, and you just lose contact, and then you're not in the race anymore, and that's done. That's 6 minutes of your life you can't really yeah, exactly. So heartbreaking. Took us a few weeks to get over it, and I know that having Oxford line up just after that. Basically, I came to Oxford like 2 months after the Olympic final.
Yeah.
It really helped me, and probably helped Roman as well, mentally, to have a goal, to know we have that goal, to know we have that change of environment just after the summer break, and that was a real relief, because otherwise I think I would have been depressed for like 2 months, not knowing what to do with my life, because I wouldn't know how to start to make sure I was going to be in a better position come the next Olympics, because I thought I had done everything I could to be in the best position in Tokyo. So I think probably what we need at that point is a change of environment, a mental break from the team, and then if we come back, it's not 100% sure what we're going to do yet, if we're going to come back to full-time rowing, but if we do, I think we need some new exciting project, and maybe some new coaching, something new, because in the end of the day it's as much mental as it is physical. So
yeah. You mentioned maybe you might sweep. I guess, you know, one of the models of a double changing to sweep, the Croatian double, who've now, I think, gone back into the double scull, if I read that correctly.
That's what they told us.
So is that something that you might consider?
I think we've got a good setup this year to try out, because obviously we're going to sweep all year here at Oxford, but then we won't be able to train the Swiss team. But then at the same time, Ian Wright's going to come back to Swiss team, and to us actually before taking the job, asking us what our plans were, and he offered us to try and do a 4 this year, but a 4 we wouldn't really train a long time, and so we would be coming back from Oxford after the end of our degree, which would be like middle of the summer. For me, it wouldn't be before mid-July. And then just come together with Roman, with maybe another guy from the 4 of last year's 4, and so a few or maybe 2 guys from the 4, and just put a four together for like 6 weeks or so, and then it would be quite a short time, but a good assessment of where we stand and if that's worth giving it a try. Because if it goes bad, we only waste six weeks of our life. But if it goes well, it's very promising for the future. So I think it's a good opportunity for us to test that out. And as I said before, I think Ian obviously has proved he can coach a four and make a four go fast. So it was stupid from us not to try that.
Yeah, that sounds great. And was that Olympic experience? I mean, in Tokyo, it was obviously very different. And you know, for myself there as well as all the people that I've spoken to. I mean, how was the whole COVID thing? Did they fly you out straight after the event? Did you get to talk to many other athletes?
Yeah, so we had to fly back 24 hours before after our last race. So that was a bit dull. But on the other hand, we weren't really in for any party. So, but yeah. So comparing that to Rio, obviously, I mean the racing was still pretty much the same. That didn't really impact us specifically, and I mean also in rowing we're not used to to a lot of spectators, so not having spectators wasn't a big deal for us. Honestly, we didn't really notice it, to be honest. And within the village, I was expecting it to be worse. Actually, we were still allowed to move around freely. We just had to wear masks, obviously, but other than that, it was pretty much we could move around, we could talk with people, we could go and play some games or get together with people. Obviously people were a bit more careful than usually, so there weren't as much interaction as you would see in other editions, but the main difference definitely was the after the racing, where we stayed in Rio for a week until the closing ceremony. We experienced like the partying, we went to see a lot of other competitions, really get that full Olympic experience. And in Tokyo, it wasn't like that. Everyone was flying out just after the racing. We weren't even allowed to stay until the end of the rowing races, so we couldn't even, for example, we weren't there to see the final day of racing with the eights and the single sculls, so we had to watch. We were in the plane as our Janine, our single sculler, was racing her final, so we didn't even get to watch her live. So that was a shame. And obviously Tokyo is it seems like such a great city, and we couldn't see any of it. So that was a bit sad, but the racing itself was definitely as usual, I would say. But yeah, so we missed that full Olympic experience, but it definitely was better for us to have the Olympics that way than not to have any Olympics at all, obviously.
Looking through your career and the races you've had, one of the races that stands out is 2018, where you took the silver medal behind the French double. Is that your best ever performance that you look to, or have you got another performance that you look and say, no, that was where I really performed exceptionally?
It was a strange one, this one, because I was out for the first month and a half of the season. So we had our trials in March or April, and Roman and I came first and second, and then so it was decided we would go in the double. But usually they select a crew for the first World Cup or two, or maybe the Europeans, and then they assess if the crew is going well. I mean, it's similar to the GB team, obviously. But we didn't get to race together until the World Champs, because I was out for the first two World Cups, and then at Europeans, Roman ended up doing the single, and I was put together with Nico, who was the third scholar this year. But he raced with Roman before, and they did really well in the double. They medaled in Lucerne, I think. Yeah, I think they came third in Lucerne. injury. I was so that was also a very good result. So the coaches were like, "Oh, what are we doing with those guys? They're really good." And then they wanted to give Roman a chance to race in the single at Europeans because he won trials that year. He raced the single, but he came third, and I raced with Nico, and we came fifth, which wasn't great, but it was decent. But Roman's result wasn't as good as it could have been, so they were like, "Oh no, we're not going to keep him in the single." And then so finally we decided to. I mean, the coaches decided that we were still going to race a double as planned, but we basically had only 5 weeks together before the Worlds.
Yeah.
And then we went to the Worlds, and the boat was going very, very well. But then Roman had some rib injury, so he wasn't 100%. And between the heats and the reps, I got some food poisoning, so I had some fever, and I was. And then we still managed to go through the reps, even though I was feeling horrendous. And then the semi-final was a bit better, but I still wasn't 100%. And then the final, I was close to 100%. But so it was like a very disturbed season.
Yeah.
Yet it was our best result. So sometimes it just shows that when you have a very short time together, you really have to apply yourself 100%. You have to focus 100%. You know you can't afford to waste any time on the water. And then you have to get it right. And so I think that played out pretty well for us because we were able to have a really good race with very little time together. So that was an interesting one.
And I have to ask you about the single because obviously, you know, with your great 2K erg and your technical prowess in sculling, I know you've done the single once at the World Championships. But what are your thoughts on doing the single going ahead, or why haven't you spent more time in the single?
Well, I mean, we spent a lot of time in the single in the winter, but I must say until 2019 or 20, Roman was always faster than me.
Oh, was he?
Yeah. So that was the main reason. But it was never so much faster that he would go in the single. I was always close enough for the coach to say, "Let's put you guys together in a double." Hopefully, but I did improve a lot over the last 2 years, I'd say, in the single. I mean, I improved a lot the whole time, but especially the last 2 years, and I just got a lot more confident in it as well. And I think one part of it is also because I'm the kind of guy at trials. It's quite early. It's like March, April, and I'm not peaking yet, and my rowing is a bit rusty. And yeah, I get a lot better in the summer. So I've never felt that I could express my whole potential at trials. That's one thing. The other thing is that Roman was always very fast, so we were always very close together, and so it would make sense for them to put us in a double together. And yeah, I mean, I have thought about it, but the first time I beat Roman at trials was actually 2020, so that was already too late. That was basically too late to think about it. Like, we were qualified in a double already. It was going well. We thought we had really good chances together, so we didn't second guess it. And but yeah, I mean, it would be something I would be interested in. But again, I would be more interested to win gold in a four, in a double, or whatever, than to win a bronze in a single. Like, in the end of the day, I just want to be in the fastest boat possible, with the best chance of a gold medal. But the single would be a challenge, an interesting challenge for sure. And I mean, we'll see how the four goes, and then I might give it a try or not. But also, I know that if I want to give it a try, I will have to beat Roman first, or beat everyone in Switzerland. Of course, not only Roman. And yeah, so we'll see. Why not?
Yeah. Got a question here from Paulina. Does having a tight Swiss community at Oxford help with motivation, relaxation alongside training? I guess that she's talking about Roman, because there aren't any other Swiss in the Oxford squad, I guess.
Not in the squad, no, but we actually live with. It happens that we live together with Roman as well.
Oh,
I mean, we're
really?
6 of us in a house. I mean, there's 6 rowers in the house basically, and there's another Swiss
God.
guy, Jean-Philippe Dufour, who he was in the boat race last year. He was in the blue boat last year. He comes from the club scene, but he's made like tremendous progress in Oxford, and he was a really good member of the squad last year. But now he quit rowing, so he's not rowing anymore. But well, with 3 Swiss in one house, that's again not really on purpose. It just happened that way. And also we have like a Swiss society in Oxford, so there's a lot of societies. There's a lot of societies in Oxford. You can find a society for anything basically, but there is a Swiss society, and we come together every now and then. But it's not like, I don't know if we have a really tight Swiss community. I wouldn't say so. I think it's just fun to meet other people, and I mean, we get together as much with the Swiss society than with any other like group of friends. So but it's definitely fun to meet some Swiss people outside of Switzerland and to like exchange thoughts on life here rather than in Switzerland.
Yeah, definitely. Somebody asked about the Wallingford Head. I wondered whether you did the Wallingford Head.
Yeah, we did, because as you said, we didn't get entries in for Fours Head, so we found a race to do, and I mean, I know it was a tough day underwater. Obviously, there wasn't a hugely strong opposition, but it was good to get out and race in 4s and in 8s, and yeah, it was. I mean, for me, it's always like, I'm happy with any race experience I can get in sweep rowing, because I haven't had a lot of that. So definitely some good learnings out of that, and definitely some character building day on the water, because there was a very strong headwind.
Oh, and what are your plans for training camps? Are you going to be staying in the UK, or are you going to be going abroad for any training camps?
Yeah, we were going to go abroad, but because of COVID and the risks related to it, the coaches have decided to stay in the UK. So we're actually going to train for a week on the Tideway. So we're going to be based in London, and some of us are going to stay in the hotel, and the other guys, the London guys, are going to stay at home or whatever, and we're going to train for a week there. And I think, as much as we would have enjoyed going on a proper camp, I think we can still get a lot out of it, because it's going to be good to train and row on the race course, and to experience some tideway conditions and get familiar with the course. So I think it's still going to be fun, and it's still going to be good training, and we can get quite a lot out of it.
Yeah, and I sense this question comes from one of your colleagues in the squad.
Is BG, is that Brandon Gilden? Well, that's our assistant coach.
Oh.
Or maybe it's someone else pretending it's Brendan. Yeah.
So will you get a chance? Will you get a chance to go home for Christmas, Barnabé, or are you going to be in Oxford now all the time?
No. The plan is to go home for the holidays. Hopefully, COVID restriction won't make that a mess. But as it stands now, we just have to do a test coming back to the UK and wait for the result for 1 or 2 days. So it shouldn't be too much of a hassle. So yeah, I'm going to be home and hopefully doing some skiing over Christmas and New Year's. So I'm pretty excited for that.
Oh wow! Oh, so you must be quite a good skier, I'm guessing.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. Yeah.
Well, I hope you stay safe on your skis. It's been fantastic having you for, we've been speaking for over an hour now, and your English is so much is incredible. It's so fluent. It's amazing.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, you do need to do some testing before coming into Oxford. They don't let you in just like that. But hopefully, I'm improving. Even though a lot of guys in the team make fun of my accent, but that's how it rolls, I guess.
I hope they don't. So, do you have a seat that you'd like to sit in the Oxford 8? Would you like to stroke the 8? Have they tried you in the stroke seat? Would you like to be the big 6 man, or just like Hamish Bond up there in the 2 seat?
They haven't tried me in the stroke seat. I think Sean doesn't think I'm experienced enough in sweeping for that, definitely. And also we got a lot of good guys who can stroke it. Like obviously Liam is stroking it most of the time because he was stroking the US 8, and I think he's doing a good job. In the end, like, I mean, I just want to be in the best seat possible, like in the seats where I can bring the most to the team. Like, rather, should it be in 6 seat, 4 seats? Probably not 2 seat because I'm a bit too heavy. I would like. I mean, if it makes the boat go faster, I gladly sit on 2 seat, but I don't think it's. I'm really well suited for that. But I do like the 6 seats because I think I can contribute quite a lot to the rhythm. But like, I don't really mind. I just want a fast boat, and wherever I sit in that boat, I need to make sure I sit in that boat first before thinking of what seat I'm sitting
absolutely.
on.
Absolutely. Well, Barnabé, wish you all the best for the Trial 8s race coming up, for your work on the NBA, and a very happy and peaceful and safe Christmas on skis.
Thank you very much. I wish you the same. And thanks again for having me.
So we'll end the live part of this interview now. Thanks, Barnabé. What a guest. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Martin.